Well, hello there and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Selfers for February 8th, the day of precognition. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of precognition. We have us what appears to be, boom, very simple image. What is it? Oh, it's some kind of hut, a medieval shelter of sorts. Even has a little bit of a, what you call Scandinavian Nordic look, considering those tree roots going up the side, I would say. Although, I don't know if they're tree roots, but you know what I'm saying. That said, does that speak to the day of precognition? I don't know if it's some kind of temple, perhaps. So who's to say? That said, not altogether all too important. I'd just like folks to see what I have here on the page in front of me. Give you a little bit of the paradigm that's going on here, if you like. That said, what is important around here is it is February 8th, and that means it's somebody's birthday. So if it's your birthday today, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. That's right. That's what's important. Wishing you happy birthday. Now, if this video is finding you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday if that's the circumstance we find ourselves in. That having been said, a lot of times folks like to drop in randomly or more ideally to celebrate the birthday. And so if you're here in that case, I just want to say I hope you enjoy yourselves and you take something of value. All right? So before I dive in with the birthday redirect, and we will, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right. This is the Diecast birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And folks, I just rolled pretty much the exact same thing, just reversed. How about that? A 1 and a 4 for a 5. Different dice there. That's right. So you can see I'm not fooling around. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, a lot of times, my friends, we'll get out into this world and we're very laser focused. That's right. We got a lot of times we got the blinders on, right? We're not necessarily lending much concern to the things that are going on around us. And I bring that up because as I hear tale, the universe will put things in our path to help us realize our goals or manifest our aspirations. But if we got the blinders on, hey, we might not be apt to see those things for what they are. That's right. The universe helping us along. So this is a little bit of an exercise to help you get those blinders off and recognize such things. And how do we do that? Well, we have to find a sign that we agree upon with the universe. That's right. One that we can't help but notice. Hopefully. That's right. Your daily numbers. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it's probably advisable you take your own set of dice if this is something you want to try out. So you can ascribe directional values to number sets or time limits with which to go in those directions. That said, once you've established all that, hey, pick out a place you've maybe never been or some place near and dear to your heart. I always like to bring up the town square, so let's try that out again, all right? Find yourself in the town square, roll yourself your dice, your daily number, your time limit, and you head out. But before you do, hey, check back in with yourself and make sure you're taking those blinders off, all right? And I say that because a lot of times you set off to do something like this, and the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme, all right? You might start to see something random that starts to present itself more often than not. I usually like to use the visual representational image, but here today that might be a little hard with some kind of a shelter-like temple. But hey, you know what? Hey, maybe that just happens to be the case. Maybe you start seeing people selling their wares on the side of the street, and hey, maybe they just so happen to have little houses or some such thing that they're selling. Or maybe you see a sticker on the side of a transformer box that just so happens to be a little yurt of some kind. I don't know, it seems a little random, but you know what? That's exactly the kind of thing you got to be on the lookout for. Something random that keeps coming across your path. You just kind of take it as a sign that the universe is with you on your path. That said, maybe you get at the end of your first time limit here and you're not really seeing anything. You know what? Don't get dissuaded. Just step back, take things in, see what you see, and maybe just so happen to notice, I don't know, maybe you're in front of a building with, oh, what's this? 14 in the address. Hey, go on in there, see what you see. Maybe it's, I don't know, some kind of tool shop, hardware, mom and pop joint. Go on in there. People say there's some old timer behind the desk. How can I help you? And you know what? Just be transparent about what's going on. I know it might seem a little strange. We'll say, I'm just here on synchronicity, kind of a journey here, trying to let the universe align things for me. The old timer is apt to not think he heard you right, okay? But you know what? Maybe show him your dice, show him this video. He's probably still going to be just as confused. So what, you want some penny nails or what's going on? You know what? Just kind of take it in jest, because you never know. Maybe down the aisle, somebody goes, "Hey, is that you?" And you're like, oh, you know, they thought they heard a familiar voice. And you look, and maybe it's somebody from college or high school, someone you haven't seen in like 10 years. And you know what? You wouldn't have been apt to go in this store if it hadn't have been for your dice. Hey, what are you doing here? I haven't seen you in years. You know what? Boom. You just kind of, the universe lined things up for you. Maybe tell them what you're up to, and they'll be like, "Man, you really fell off, didn't you? You're out here going after all this metaphysical mumbo jumbo." Hey, you know what? Tell them to tag along. Let's see what we see. Maybe you're on the fence about it too. I know I am, but you know what? Hey, we drill down on it, see what we see. All right, it has worked out for me in the past. Yeah, and not necessarily with these particular kind of ramifications here. I don't know if that's the right word, but things to align in such a manner. But things will happen there if you just let it. So once again, maybe let's say they join you, all right? So get your dice out, and the both of you are focused on the same thing. You know what? I hear tail. If that's the case, you're apt to generate better or more nominal results. All right, so you guys get your second directional value and time limit going. What's this? I don't know. Maybe the number 5 bus pulls up. Hey, you know what? I think it's time to jump on, all right? That's a sign if ever I saw. So maybe you two get on there and you're like, "This is ridiculous. I hate riding the bus." Going along. So you roll your dice value to find out when the time limit's up, so you can keep an eye on your watch and get off at the last, or the 11th, as soon as you can, right? But hey, what's this? You roll a time value, and let's stick with our numbers here. Maybe it's a 5 or a 14 there. You look up, and hey, what's this? Maybe somebody just so happens to have on a sports jersey with the 14 on it. Hey, you know what? I know, coincidence, right? But let's stack them up. Let's stack up those coincidences, those synchronicities. And here's the thing. If something like that presents, even if it's on an individual, take that as a sign, a white rabbit of sorts. Start following them. See when they get off the bus, and then maybe roll another time value to see how long to follow them for. But you know what? Give them a little bit of a buffer. You don't want to come off like you're stalking them, right? But and maybe you say they recognize you following them. They see you in a mirror. Maybe they were a spy type, or they were a cop in a former life, and they see you. Again, just be transparent, tell them what you're doing. And once again, maybe this individual is apt to join you. You know what might be surprising? Hey, what if it's their birthday too? That's right. It's not outside the realm of possibility. And now you got somebody else tagging along with you, potentially looking for these signs. All right. I know it sounds outlandish, but hey, if you see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, a little bit of magic like that, hey, you're apt to understand why I brought it up. All right. Think you get the idea. So get on out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. All right, let's dive into the read, shall we? Your month is February, your day is the 8th, your sign is 18 to 20 degrees Aquarius of the Aquarius III period specifically, the first day of it. And your quality and element is fixed air. All right, February 8th, the day of precognition. Those born on February 8th often have highly developed psychic or projective abilities. Hang in there. I know it's all metaphysical here. Let's go. They are sometimes able to form a conception of how a situation should be in their heads, and then bring that situation into reality. Not by physically creating it, but by the power of suggestion. That is, visualizing their wishes and somehow guiding others in that direction. In addition, they are able to read signs around them accurately enough to know when it is the right time to raise a subject or make a physical move. In financial matters, they generally have a sense of timing that informs them when it is time to invest money or bail out, and when it is appropriate to begin or end a business relationship. One is tempted to say that February 8 people can somehow read the future, but perhaps it is more a kind of openness where they are highly sensitized to the undercurrents running between people and things. And indeed, some February 8 people are outright psychics, able to sense what others are thinking even over considerable distances, and also capable of sending their thoughts and messages like transmitters. But even the average person born on this day most often has a powerful sixth sense. February 8 people are very strong conceptually. Rather than leap right in and try to accomplish something by trial and error, they usually stand back, examine it objectively, and visualize how it should be done. Often they give the impression of living in another world, peopled not by living things, but by ideas. And they may be intellectuals or planners, architects or map readers, musicians or scientists, or whizzes with the computer. But one thing they certainly are not is idle dreamers. Others may be surprised when they discover this, wrongly assuming that February 8 people are just flaky or out of it. In fact, those born on this day display a great capacity for understanding highly technical matters. Despite their talents, the emotional lives of February 8 people tend toward the unstable, even chaotic. And if they have never discovered or developed the conceptual part of their nature, and rather have given most of their energy to interpersonal relationships, they may be floundering a good deal of the time. And they seem to either fail or hold on to the right people who come along, or, worse yet, become hopelessly attached to the wrong ones. Basically, they err on the side of shouldering unrealistic responsibilities for which they are not suited. And there is a highly docile part of their nature which can, on the one hand, have them giving much while receiving precious little in return. Or, on the other hand, indulging themselves in a warm bath of attention and even coddling. Unfortunately, their psychic abilities don't seem to help them in their choice of mates. Frequently, they want things to go easily, smoothly, but with the wrong person, this is ultimately difficult, if not impossible. And finding a good give and take balance in an equal relationship is something February 8 people should hold out for if they can. All right. Very interesting birthday reading today. And I said to hold out here because, a lot of times you might think going into something like this, a book like this focused on astrology and other eclectic metaphysical ideologies, that these are the kind of things you're going to run across all the time. And you know what? That's just not the case. I think maybe we ran into one, maybe two other birthdays kind of like this. Not necessarily claiming you're outright psychics, but hey, it's pretty interesting, right? And a lot of times, sometimes that can just be kind of taken to a more realistic interpretation of as much. But who's to say? That having been said, a lot of times in this period specifically, especially in the Capricorn period, these birthday breakdowns are very hyper and laser of focus. They would take the theme of the day, and then within that theme, they would just kind of expand out. But they wouldn't necessarily drill down on a person's personality to say, like, how they are in their family life or with friends and business partners and all the like. But here, they didn't necessarily do that so much, but they did round it out a little bit more than they have been doing in the past period here. So I appreciate that they're starting to kind of segue out of that trend there. That having been said, I might be getting ahead of myself. I do like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, maybe make connections with past periods, and I'll just go over some of the stuff that we talked about and maybe some things that I'd find interesting. So let's dive in, shall we? February 8th, the day of precognition. Often possessing highly developed psychic or projective qualities, you're said to have an ability to manifest what's in your mind through the power of suggestion, and with the power of visualization may even guide others to desired directions. Let's see what I have here to say. I know it sounds like a hard sell, but these breakdowns very seldom talk in such metaphysical terms, so I wouldn't poo-poo it out of hand for that reason alone. But in addition, to have said powers of the mind here, they say, the reading claims you also have an innate ability to read signs in a way that allows you to make good decisions. All right, a little more rooted in reality there in that respect. Which then also extends to beneficial financial and business concerns. But for a more down-to-earth individual, even if you don't mind or think rather that you possess such otherwise otherworldly powers, you may be of the capacity to pick up on what the reading calls an undercurrent that runs between people and things. All right, maybe you're just more adept at kind of seeing what's going on with folks. Some folks might equate that to a psychic kind of power. who's to say, all right? Which, while may not be seen as a sixth sense here, is certainly far more conceivable in those terms if we're more down to earth. To that end, however, the reading once again leans metaphysical, claiming you may be able to sense thoughts and send messages like a transmitter. Power that even if you don't believe you're capable, I bet you wouldn't necessarily mind having it, at least for a day, right? Until one lends a little bit of credence to the ramifications of as much, once the novelty was soon, I bet, to wear off, all right? You might start hearing things you didn't otherwise want to hear, right? Maybe from somebody you loved. All right, so yeah, you might not want to have those powers. But this mental ability also has a very, real world applications also. I couldn't read my words there. It has real world applications also. What Robert Persig of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance fame called a romantic outlook. All right, to say an ability to stand back, kind of assess the situation or the motorcycle in terms of the book, and how things work and what might be wrong with the particular machine or the issue at hand. Whereas other people, they would start just tearing it apart and replacing parts as you go. Oh, did that fix the problem? No. Okay, let's replace this one. Whereas with the more romantic outlook, you go through the process of the machine, becoming part of it, appreciating it for what it is, and then kind of figuring out what's wrong in that regard. And maybe you only have to replace the one part at that point, or adjust something so it's more properly attuned to the specs that it should be in, instead of going whole hog and replacing the whole bike. So I think they're trying to say you kind of have this ability. That's what I discerned from it. That said, going through here, I ad-libbed most of this here. But it's very unique and rare insofar as I don't think a lot of people have that particular trait, not to that extent. So it might not be a psychic power, it might just be a way of thinking things through. And, I would like to think a lot of people have this in their possession, but I think if we're being real with ourselves, not a lot of people do possess it. But to that end, the reading claims you have an otherworldly capacity to do this, right? But purportedly, you might have unstable emotional lives, all right, for a very surprising turn, all right? The reading also claims without developing this higher power you have to lean into things and now analyze them, etc., that leaning into your intrinsic talent, if you like, that your life may not be, or it might be that much harder. And to say that you might be leaning into the relationship side of things, and these relationships, they might not be doing you any favors there. But what I also find interesting is that they said if you find someone that you can help kind of balance that out, that you're all the better. I don't know. It's just a very interesting, surprising turn, in my opinion. I didn't necessarily see it coming this way, especially since the rest of your life, it seemed to be pretty even keel. I mean, I know they focused a lot on the metaphysical and the psychic angle of it, and they didn't really dive in outside of that. But they didn't bring up anything really negative within that particular narrow scope. So to drill down on your interpersonal relationships and how that might be a big sticking point causing all the frustrations in your life, very interesting in my opinion. Any event, that's what I had to say about your birthday breakdown. I know it's disjointed. That's what happens sometimes when my writing's too tiny. I try to avoid that, but hey, you know what? Sometimes it can't be helped. So that having been said, let's move on and dive into some more stuff with your numbers and your planets. All right, here we go. Let me get the book aligned for you so I can stare down the barrel of the camera, looking at you there. Those born on the 8th of the month are ruled by the number 8 and by the planet Saturn, which carries strong feelings of responsibility and an accompanying tendency toward caution and limitation. And for February 8 people, the influence of Saturn on Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, lends to a reserved and often peculiar note to their personalities, as well as some difficulties with communication. And although they can be warm-hearted, those ruled by Saturn often present a cool or detached exterior. All right. This wasn't a particularly too into the weeds numbers and planets entry as far as that goes. I've seen some pretty complicated ones, but it was pretty personalized here. I don't know if we've run into a Saturn-Uranus dynamic quite yet, so they had to tailor it to fit a little bit. That said, there was a little bit of boilerplate stuff in there, so let's dive in, see what I had to say, see if I can provide any additional value for you. The number 8 in the constrictive planet Saturn for a tendency toward caution, feelings of personal responsibility, and in a lot of cases, rather conservative tendencies. And for that reason, almost a baked-in irony that someone falling under the rulership of Saturn, of all the other planets concerned, might be sensitive to psychic abilities. Kind of ironic in that respect. Having said that, Uranus is a planet said to shake up and otherwise electrify the traits of the planets that it's in co-rulership with. So psychic abilities would certainly speak to a shake-up with regard to Saturn. Though, like I said, I don't think I really come across this before. And if the one or two other times I did, this might not have been the rulership in that respect. That's it. Uranus is said to be erratic with explosive tendencies. Otherwise, and so those might be a little bit more imparted on Saturn there for that shakeup we mentioned. That also might be realized with your interpersonal relationships there too, because they said you have some frustrations in that respect. Rather unfortunate circumstance in that case, assuming it applies. But then again, perhaps it's a favor of sorts. All right, let's frame this in a way that benefits us, perhaps. It might be an aid in helping you find the individual that best lines up with you in your life. All right, I would say it's important in that respect there. We're fighting these things that seem to bring on frustrations in our lives. What if we leaned into that? Hey, the universe is trying to help us find the thing that we do need. Maybe that relationship is tumultuous because they're the wrong person. I don't know. So maybe look at it as a tool. This thing's causing frustrations. Why are we fighting to swim upstream? I don't know. It might be a little bit of a stubbornness angle into it too, though I don't necessarily think I drilled down on any of that in a breakdown, but that has presented in the Aquarius period. All right. That said, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's dive in with your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, though we've certainly got a lot of it today, haven't we? But hey, tarot being said, we don't have to necessarily take it home with us and start dealing out the cards and, letting it predict our future. It sounds like you can do that for yourself. So let's just see what it has to say. Maybe we can make some more, connotations with things that have been brought up here, or connections, if you like, and then we can just leave it here in the book. So let's dive into it, shall we? The 8th card of the major arcana is Strength or Courage, which depicts a graceful queen taming a furious lion. And the queen symbolizes the female magician who can master rebellious energies and stands for moral as well as physical strength. And the card's positive attributes include charisma and determination to succeed, whereas the negative qualities include complacency and the misuse of power. All right, very interesting here. Pretty apt card, I would say. Though what's interesting here about this entry, completely boilerplate, total copy-paste job. All right, so let's see once again if I can impart any additional context for you or something of value. So strength or courage card, rather. The queen who's taming a furious lion for mastering rebellious energies, which could be finding balance in those relationships. All right. Rebellion is also something that Uranus is said to impart. So maybe you're fighting against it. I would certainly argue that Saturn would probably have a little bit of that stubbornness there and trying to bring its conservative nature into the things that are otherwise erratic. So who's to say? But also traits of a moral and physical strength they mentioned. And I'm not saying that doesn't necessarily apply. I just didn't really pick up on that being conveyed in the breakdown, the moral or the physical strength there. Maybe I just kind of breezed over it or didn't read enough between the lines. So they also focused on psychic powers and technical prowess within the breakdown as it was. But positives of determination to succeed as well as charisma are mentioned on the card there in positives. The former of which, determination, certainly you need to stake something to determine or stare at something rather. You need to stare at something to determine how it works. I would say that is, what do you call it? A determination to succeed. All right. You got to analyze the bike. I keep trying to say it the wrong way. Try to analyze the bike, analyze the problem, see what it is. You need to have a certain amount of determination and patience to do that. So I would say that applies in that respect. Though you may argue I'm reading between the lines a little bit. That said, for your negatives here, they mentioned complacency and a misuse of power. So certainly don't let the settling for a wanting relationship soak your potential, I would say. And also the potential to do what you're good at. They said a lot of times people will lean into these relationships without having cultivated the things that they have the innate strengths with. But whereas if they had cultivated those things, and maybe in tandem with the relationship too, it would have made for a better life there, or more enjoyable perhaps. So yeah, don't get complacent by just leaning into making that relationship work. You got other prospects you can explore as well, I would say. Or maybe just focus on trying to find a balance with as much. What else did they have to say here? It could be as for the misuse of power, but perhaps psychically getting people to do what you want. That could be another issue too, if that metaphysical stuff applies. Misuse of power wise. Trying to send them messages that you think that they should be interpreting. I think they're their own thoughts. Total misuse of power. All right. Again, assuming the psychic angle relates. But it was particularly interesting that they said, even though you have psychic powers, you're not able to apply that to your relationship for any benefit. Pretty interesting, right? So it would probably lead one to argue, hey, it doesn't really apply then, does it? If I can't use it for my own benefits, does it even exist? Who's to say? But pretty interesting there. That having been said, that was what I'd say about the tarot. I don't know why I'm totally disjointed today, but hopefully I made enough of an impact that you took something away from it, and it was coherent enough that you understood. So in any event, that's your tarot. So let's move on to your health. Let's see what else I can mix up for you here. Let's get into it here. Those born on February 8 may suffer from hidden ailments, which they are afraid or unwilling to discuss with others. And if possible, they should have regular checkups with a physician of their own choice, with whom they feel comfortable and whom they respect and trust. And those born on this day may suffer difficulties with their lymphatic, glandular, or circulatory systems over the years. And in later life, they should be attentive to any varicosities that may develop. And those born on this day would do well to keep their diets low in fat, reduce or eliminate their rate of smoking, and limit their consumption of alcohol. Only mild to moderate exercise is recommended for February 8 people, along with lots of rest. And they should beware of focusing on or even uttering self-fulfilling prophecies of a self-destructive nature. Very interesting. That last little button there, not typical at all. All right. What do I have to say about your health? Let's see what I had to say here. You have hidden ailments that you're not necessarily willing to face or even discuss. Okay. This has been a rather common through line in the Aquarius period. Not necessarily that particular angle in particular, but a fickleness with the health for one reason or another. I think there was 1, maybe 2 days that didn't necessarily have that in common. So a little bit interesting there to make a particular connection for you. So an otherwise persnickety kind of health issues there. Veins in lower legs are also a primary Aquarius body area. They mentioned quite a few for you here, the glandular and what was the other one? Lymphatic. But the veins and the lower legs and the ankles are a very specific Aquarius area. So I've been liking to mention for folks, maybe picking yourself up a pair of compression socks. And then, all joking aside, hey, you know what? Might as well head it off at the pass. Hopefully prevent like varicose veins. And they said varicosities, you gotta be mindful of those embolisms that could potentially lead to stroke. I don't know how else you prevent it, but Capricorn, I know this is the Aquarius period, but Capricorn had the body areas of the veins and the skeleton, which is very close to the circulatory system. And so they were often getting mentioned to cut out any kind of animal or dairy fats in their diet, ostensibly for cholesterol. Here, Aquarius has been very suspiciously devoid of any very particular health, diet, foods, and the like. A couple days have gotten some suggestions, but it's been a striking anomaly that they haven't really included it. And so I would say you're probably in a good position if you follow a little bit of that Capricorn diet to cut out the animal fats and such. Yesterday they had a very robust, what do you call it, recipe list for things to eat. Very grounded. But that was very particular to that particular planet's rulership too, in one respect. So they did give you a bunch of things to avoid as far as vices were concerned, but I would also argue that was primarily for your health, right? For your heart health, if you like. And what else did they mention? Mild to moderate exercise. A little bit of a boilerplate type thing. I don't know if that's something we can really drill down on and say that applies to the planetary influences, because in a lot of cases I've seen some associations in that regard. To say when Mars would pop up, a lot of times aggressive or combative sports, ostensibly to let their god of war energy out. And by and large, most of the days in the Aquarius period have been getting moderate exercise, though a couple of them have been surprising. So, but for here, not necessarily for you. But like I said, very interesting that they kind of appended this little aspect that you should be aware of focusing or even uttering self-fulfilling prophecies of a self-destructive nature. They are that convinced that you have those metaphysical powers. All right, and hey, you know what? I maybe sounds like I'm poo-pooing it a little bit or trying to be diplomatic and approaching it for the folks who may not believe. But for the folks who do believe, it'd be very interesting to talk to you and hear the stories as to why you think you've got these things or why this might speak to you. So I'm not trying to poo-poo it for you, just trying to be diplomatic for those who don't. So if this stuff lines up with you, hey, you know what? I don't know. Rest assured that somebody's looking out for you, I guess. That said, that's what I'd say about your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right. Seek to be more realistic in your personal life specifically, and try to develop better judgments. Work through your problems. All right. Not everything can come easily. And beware, once again, of self-destructive tendencies. All right. Quick, fast, down and dirty with the advice there. A lot of times it is, but I would say that doesn't mean it has any less amount of value there. All right, what did I have to say about what they had to say for you? Beware of, or what did I say? Remove, not remove, seek to be more realistic, okay? I would say this is huge, okay? Find the right people for you, okay? Not necessarily leaning into the psychic angle. Let's look at the stuff that you had issue with, right? The relationships. Find the right people for you. This was a strikingly unique entry in that regard. So there may be some historical precedent for as much. Maybe a lot of the people born on this day had very tumultuous relationships, right? And then maybe they had to find the person that was right for them later on in life, perhaps. Or maybe it affected them finding their higher realized final form. Who's to say? I think in a lot of cases they have some reason for relating the things they relate. So the historical precedent, yeah, maybe take note. What else do they say? Try to develop better judgments. Again, with relationships, I'm supposing, considering everything else seemed accomplished to that extent. They did kind of mention there's those folks that don't have the higher developed innate process, but they didn't really speak to that very much. So we can only really go with what they wrote about. Let's see. Work through your problems, they said, and not everything comes easily. Somewhat common sense, I would say, but I would add maybe approach relationship issues with the same aplomb that you do the things that you're accomplished with, right? Look at it as a technical problem that you have to stare at to figure out the problem with, perhaps. Maybe if you just step back just a little bit outside of the personal link you have with it, be more objective about it in a way. That might help you solve the problem. If that's something you do want to rectify, who's to say? That having been said, what else do they say? Beware your self-destructive tendencies, all right? You got the shine, apparently, okay? Danny boy there from The Shining there. Careful that you know how to use it, or how you use it there, too. You don't want to be setting yourself up for failure of your own hand there, I would say. So yeah, you got this shine there, Danny boy. Okay, that's your advice. So let's dive in with your meditation. I always burn the jokes down. I don't know what it is. Self-destructive tendencies there. How about that? All right, your meditation. Though talents may be given, they need to be cultivated. All right. I like this one for you. I like this one for you. One more time. Though talents may be given, they need to be cultivated. All right. That's your meditation. It's your birthday. I'm not going to throw some kind of spin on it for you. It would kind of defeat the purpose now, wouldn't it? So that having been said, that's your meditation. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror that I think you probably have in your tool bag there, all things considering. And let's see where you got the girth and where you otherwise a little more atrophied, if you like, or deflated within the metaphor. That's right. Your strengths, you're conceptual, you're intuitive, and you're technical. I like it. I like it. I think we picked up on that from the breakdown. But your weaknesses, let's hold that objective mirror back up and flip it to the side that blows up your face. That's right. Maybe shows off the things you're a little more superficially insecure about. Your weaknesses, if you do or don't like. All right. You're codependent, it said. Emotionally confused and passive. All right. Once again, they're drilling down on that relationship stuff. Very particularly focused, I would say. But, they didn't really have much else to drill down on there either, weakness-wise. So, hey, and lend them a little bit of respect in that regard, I suppose. Hey, you know what? A lot of times I like to argue that our strengths and weaknesses, it all just depends on the individual, also the circumstance. There was one, a couple months back, there was one day, impulsive came up as a strength. The next day, the very next day, boom, it was a weakness. So it got me thinking, like, where's the disconnect? Where's the bleed through that makes such a stark juxtaposition, dynamical change there? But just must be the individual, but also the circumstance. So in a lot of cases, I like to say that our weaknesses can also be strengths. Codependent, emotionally confused, and passive. I don't know. This one might be a hard sell in that regard. How is that a strength? I don't know, maybe there's a relationship you need to get out of, and you need to, I don't know, maybe a business particular relationship. It said you're good at being able to identify when you need to get out of those things. So maybe you can take the things that you are already good at in that respect and turn them into something to use to get out of a relationship in that regard. I don't know, it seems a little bit shady, if you like, but hey, use the tools you got in your bag, right? Maybe that person's like, oh, you're too codependent, you're too passive in this business all of a sudden. I can't do business with you anymore. I'm out of here. Boom. That's exactly what you wanted, right? You were putting your thoughts in their mind, if you like. Anything. And that's a hard sell, I bet. But, that's what I came up with. That's what I pulled out of the bag. Your strengths, you're conceptual, intuitive, and technical. I would also argue if you want to get over your weaknesses, you're going to be able to do that if you apply the things you're strong with. Again, it's just you being romantic in Persigian terms there. Staring down the problem and analyzing it, a word I can't say, finding a problem. Finding what needs to be tuned up instead of having to replace the whole bike around it, right? So that said, I also like to argue, don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether because you know what? That's part of the pie, okay? You take out the baking soda. I mean, it's not something you want to eat by itself, but it causes that particular chemical reaction that makes that cherry pie taste so sweet, all right? Or it flips off the crust so it's got that good mouthfeel, whatever the baking soda or the baking powder does in that circumstance. Not a culinary whiz by any stretch of imagination. So once again, don't discount your weaknesses altogether. They're part of who you are. That said, those have been your strengths and weaknesses, so let's turn to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, something I like to do as we examine that, not only see who shares your company, but look at it from the perspective of maybe figuring out our passions. That's right. Let's drum up some inspiration from the things those other people accomplished. A lot of times we get out in the world and meet folks and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. And I think the key root of that problem, perhaps, is that they don't have a purpose to drive after in life, outside of the job and the family. Those count to some extent, but what is it that they get fulfillment from on a personal level there? I'd say that's the key in some respects there. So let's do that here. Let's use this as an opportunity to see what other folks did to get in the book, and maybe it'll drive us to get inspired to start figuring out what our passions are. Because if there's anything I can wish you on your birthday, it's that you're jumping out of bed, doing backflips to get into your day, eager to get on with what you're doing. Hey, maybe you're making money at what you love to do. But sometimes it takes work and time to figure those things out. So like I said, if there's anything I can do is maybe put the bug in your ear to start stirring up the fires for as much. So let's try to do that by looking at the folks who share your company. I think you get it. Let's get into it here. Emanuel Swedenborg. All right, a Swedish scientist, a mining expert, and after vision at age 55, he lived the last 20 years as a mystic and a clairvoyant. Interesting. So, hey, you know what? They've got some historical precedents here. We also have Jules Verne, French novelist, fantasy and science fiction originator, and famous for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. One such book. I know there's many others. We also have Mary I, or Bloody Mary there, all right? The British Tudor and the Catholic 16th century queen, and the Protestant prosecutor. We also have James Dean, all right? The 50s icon, film actor, car crash death, rather, at the age of 24. Far before his time, they would say there. We also have Martin Buber, Judaic scholar, philosopher, a writer, and famous for I and Thou, a book, I'm supposing. Evangeline Adams, the first great American astrologer, they say. Jack Lemmon, the film and stage actor. Nick Nolte, the film actor. John Williams, the film composer and director. We also have William T. Sherman. William Tecumseh Sherman there, I'm supposing, the Civil War Union general, and he raised the South on his march to the sea. That's right. We also have John Ruskin, the British poet and art critic, responsible for The Stones of Venice. We also have King Vidor, a film director of The Crowd, and was also a producer. We have Lana Turner, a film actress, and it says 8 marriages. So again, here's some historical precedent for the relationships angle. Who else do we have here? We have Franz Marc, a German painter. Dame Edith Evans, a British actress. We also have Ellie Ameling, a Dutch soprano. Tom Rush, a folk singer. And we also have Huang Fanzhang, a Chinese economist and responsible for the character of the world's economy. We also have Samuel Butler, a British 17th century poet, responsible for Hudibras, and Robert Burton, a British 16th century writer. All right, hey, we had at least one psychic in there now, didn't we? All right, a little bit of, what do you call it, precedent there, historical precedent. And I know it's a big-ass tall order to take inspiration from accomplishments of other people, but hey, like I said, hopefully we can just stir up the fires a little bit with me putting the bug in your ear about as much. Because like I said, if there's anything I can hope for you on your birthday, it's that you're driving after a purpose or a passion, all right? That said, I might have messed up or mispronounced a name or two, so let's butcher things on my side of the screen there. It's not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics. Isn't quite helpful with name pronunciation on occasion. That said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, all right? I know I was a little mixed up there with the notes on occasion. Like I said, I hope you took some value from it regardless. It happens on occasion with these one-shot, one-takes, but I love to leave it in there for folks because maybe it takes some entertainment value. I listen to this guy mumble mouth his words there. That said, hey, you know what? This has been... Oh, I missed something out, all right? That essentially rounds out your birthday reading, okay? Except to say your season is winter. Your sign, once again, is Aquarius, and of the Aquarius III period specifically. And your quality and elements is a fixed air. And for you return viewers, you're probably getting a laugh that I mixed up the copy there. There you go. This has been February 8th, the day of a Precognition. That's right. From The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. It's right above a personal message I like to leave for the birthday boys and girls there. So check it out if you like. Save the hassle and type it in a browser if you're interested in picking up a copy. This thing makes a great coffee table book, all right? Especially going to have company over, a little party, shindig. Going to take a little bit of the weight off your shoulders having to get the party started or the ice broken, if you like. So give some consideration for that if you need a tool for as much. But, hey, it just makes an interesting read even outside of that particular circumstance. That said, the book having been relayed, not altogether all too important in that respect, because what is important, like I said at the top, That's right. Wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, hey, happy birthday, all right? That said, before I forget here, that's right, your daily numbers. Get out there, let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And if you're apt for a little bit of the psychic stuff, hey, you know what? This might be right up your avenue if you never tried as much. But what else we have to say here before I take us out? You know what? For everybody else who joined us, hey, I just want to say thanks for joining us. I hope you found this entertaining or informative, derived some kind of value out of it, or maybe something spoke to you even though it's not your birthday. Oh, I hope so. I hope so. But once again, I just want to say happy birthday to the boys and girls out there. It's been a pleasure to share your time with you and to celebrate your birthday with you. It's been a privilege. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. And once again, happy birthday. All right, get out there. What do I say? Yeah, get some compression socks. Prevent those varicoses, if I'm saying that right. And what's the other thing there? You got the shine. All right, Danny boy. So you know what? Try and use it. Try to build it. Some of the rest of us don't have it, even though we wish we had it. So, you know what? Use it if you got the predisposition. All right. Once again, happy birthday. Take care of yourselves.